Well, this week's gonna be small. Sorry about that, y'all. I did have an idea for something to try to pad it with, but it wouldn't show up in time, so we'll just have to take a look at what did arrive, which is My Hero Academia World Heroes Mission. It's a movie. Their fight is our future. So this is Regions A plus B. There's English dub. A lot of familiar characters. Split cover. And this is probably not a high priority watch. Alright, going in. Download and play now. Feature film special. Feature film. I think this is just the DVD version here. Blu-ray there. Good stuff. But yeah, overall, don't know what to think about it. And then Kingdom, Season 3, Part 1. Which I'm guessing I got Seasons 1 and 2. Ambition will change history. Regions A and B. English dub. Otherwise, I don't know much about it. Even though I probably opened up 4 previous things. Oh well. Here's, some pretty straightforward stuff. It looks like these arts reverse in the back of the Blu-rays DVDs, which is interesting. Kind of makes me want to swap the discs, but oh well. So, quick, I know, but here's this week's anime Blu-ray collection update. Alright, so I watched episode 2 of Combatants Will Be Dispatched. I think episode 3 was candidate on the list of things to potentially watch, but only episode 2 got watched. An amusing little episode, introduced some additional characters. Hard to say what I think about them. They're okay, but I kind of realized, so yeah, somebody did answer, and yeah, the author of Konosuba was also the author of this, and they're both comedies, and there's some ownership similarities there. If I were to try and single out why Konosuba is maybe more enjoyable than this, and that's not to say this isn't enjoyable, but maybe just why Konosuba has kind of hit the world by storm a bit more, and it's because Konosuba is about taking established script and flipping it on its head. And while it does feel like this anime maybe has some similar aspirations it's going for, I'm not quite sure what that script is. That doesn't necessarily make it bad, but it does mean that you compare to Konosuba, and it's understandable why that one took off more. Whereas this one, entertaining, but I guess I don't really know what kind of show it's definitely going to be. Other than comedic, I guess. Not that it's the only show I'm watching right now with that kind of problem, but it's interesting like that. Classroom of the Elite, Season 2, Episode 6. I'd say more good Classroom of the Elite sort of stuff. We get to see some of the main characters' machinations, maybe, come to fruition to a degree. And it's very nice watching that happen. It's one of the fun things about watching the show. Let's see, I have on my notes, and this isn't the order I've watched things, but just the order I have things. So Parallel World Pharmacy Episode 6. I guess... kind of setting up, I guess, things that have been hinted at before but need to actually become potential roadblocks for our main character. And I guess it's trying to do that instead of being a just happy show. And just happy doesn't mean that it isn't dealing with potentially tragic things in there, but it does kind of paint over some of those things in a way that feels a little bit convenient, like the entire idea of completely upending all forms of certain kinds of industry to a certain degree. And yeah, if you start putting all the horse makers out of a job, then you better be an entire goddamn industry doing it, because if you're just one person, then you become targeted, or things like that. Let's see. Black Summoner episode 8. Entertaining follow-on from the previous episode, I suppose. But Black Summoner is suffering from a little bit from a shaky goals syndrome. I feel like it's better than Harem in the Labyrinth of Another World, which also had episode 8. And interesting enough, both these episodes 8 involved our main character buying a house. Am I remembering that correctly? Now I'm doubting myself. Now I'm wondering what all happened in episode 8. I thought that happened, but now I'm not so sure. But at a minimum, there's other stuff touched up here. Something that's like, I guess you could call this one thing a goal in this anime did start moving, but I don't know what I think about it. It's kind of a show that I think the reason Harem in the Labyrinth of Another World may be less entertaining is just because that one's moving very slowly, whereas this one, it's at least moving very rapidly and keeping you engaged by at least throwing new stuff at you. Which doesn't necessarily mean that it's better, but I think for most people they will probably find Black Summoner more enjoyable. Obviously, Harem in the Labyrinth is going to have more risky content that will attract people, but it's also a little bit slower, almost slice of lifey, except that slice of life is being a very I guess an adventure to a certain degree, and it's kind of nice, but at the same time, it does move a little bit slower than I would prefer, but still watchable. And then there's the things I watched with my Friday friends. So Overlord Season 4 Episode 6, like I said, the previous episode set up more new characters reacting to our main characters, which is always a good thing, and good kind of reactions, twists, and turns to that one. So, good job. It didn't quite finish what it was starting, but it was enjoyable. Probably not the most kick-ass Overlord stuff out there, but I'd stay still kind of nice and feeling like there's going to be good payout for watching it. And it's good that something has a feeling like that. That's, you want to feel like you're watching something that's going to have a payoff. Yeah. Let's see. Then we have Demon Slayer Season 2 Episodes 1 through 3. And this is Season 2 under the assumption that the train arc is not a season of its own, even though there's an episodic version of it. It's kind of an in-between movie that had an episodic version. But so far, Season 2, it's been an amusing concept. I'm still not entirely sure what to think about it. Some of the characters kind of tend to rub me off the wrong way in this, and there's a tiny bit of that, but it's not too egregious. Because otherwise, it's entertaining to kind of see how these characters have been interacting in these 3 episodes. Nice stuff. So, beyond that, Twitch streamer friend, we finished Stranger Things Season 3. A rewatch for me, watch for the first time for her. There were just things I just did not remember about Season 3. There were a couple things I did remember. I have to say, I think all the Billy scenes are pretty good in Season 3. That's probably why some of them left some iconic imagery here and there. Others, I can kind of remember something along those lines happening, but I guess they just didn't feel that great. Mostly because it was trying to set up, okay, here's revenge against the assholes, but I felt like they tried too hard establishing them as assholes, and I think that kind of gets into maybe one of the big problems with Season 3 is the characters have become Flanderized very quickly. Not every single character in the show, but the majority of the characters were it's like, okay, so Joyce is the mother who spouts things that sound crazy, and Hopper is the... I'm not even sure where they got what he was from that. It felt like a weird evolution from season 2 in a certain way, and maybe not perfectly Hopper. But, you know, that's just a lot of the problems with season 3, is it did plenty of good things. It just kind of had a lot of bad writing around a whole lot of it. Not the greatest of plans, things where it's like, does this feel like Stranger Things? And like I said, you know, one of the things that made season 4 great is it kind of felt like a Stranger Things sort of problem to be dealing with. So, I think seasons 2 and 3 suffered from, oh, we're dealing with a sequel and we have to naturally progress. But season 4 kind of got back on the right track, and I think there was a little bit of retconning in season 4, but we haven't started rewatching that yet. You know, it'd be a rewatch for me, a watch for the first time for her. But I'm looking more forward to it. Season 4 was definitely good. But I'm interested to see how I feel about it as it goes from beginning to end. Like saying, okay, well, they're doing this, and that feels entertaining. It doesn't feel like they're trying to throw some sort of stick figure thing in their faces or something. I feel like season 4, when I rewatch it, is going to impress because even people who do YouTube videos on season 4 stuff tend to have, this is how you do good writing videos. Just analysis of this, of that. So, looking forward to going back in there. But I think part of the reason there's been so much distraction for anime is, I guess technically today, because I'm looking at the clock right now and it is exactly midnight, giving you an idea of how late I record these videos. Today's the day that the next chapter in Dead by Daylight is supposed to come out. That would be the Project W Resident Evil chapter, which will introduce, I guess everybody knows, you know, new killer Albert Wesker, new survivors Ada Wong and Rebecca Chambers. Is it Chambers? I don't think it's been officially announced by Behavior, but I do believe there's 2 legendary skins from Resident Evil 3 Carlos and Resident Evil 5 Shiva? I hesitate to call her Shiva just because that makes me think there's an I in there instead of an E there, and so I don't know. But yeah, those are supposed to be legendary skins that become available. I'm looking forward to all of it, and so there's been very careful preparations going on. For the past week, Behaviors had the daily challenges have twice as much blood points as usual, and I want to juggle those very carefully, because I want to go into this chapter with as much blood points saved up in both blood points. You know, there's a 2 million cap unless you do certain things to get over it, which I don't do because that requires me to no longer get blood points through any of the normal means, and I still have a lot of things to spend blood points on. But you put that aside, you know, you got that aspect of it, and you know, so I wanted to save up daily challenges so that I get a lot of blood points from those. And the other thing is, after the update, they're changing the value of items in the blood web. So, you know, they're basically 2/3 the cost. Your blood points have 50% more purchasing value, in other words. And so that means that it's not going to take as much blood points to prestige characters, so I've been thinking, and Wesker seems like a natural choice. I'm tempted to put him into Rebecca. I feel like Rebecca needs head pats for some reason. I've never really played the Resident Evil games. I watched the brothers play through 1, pieces of 2. I don't think I've really seen through 3. I played a little bit of 4. And watch some video play of 7. You know, it's... I guess you could say my exposure to Resident Evil is it's not very deep. But outside of that, you know, I really like the choices of everybody here. I think everybody loves Ada Wong as, like, their second favorite character next to Leon, so... makes sense to have her. I was gonna say that that's the impression I get. Jill, of course, is insanely popular as well, so it makes sense for her. So I guess I'm not entirely sure why Rebecca was chosen. Maybe she's also popular as well. And again, I get the impression she's a medic kind of person. I mean, she is a medic. I've seen some of Resident Evil Zero, but I don't know that I've seen all of it. But I do know that her thing was that she was the STARS medic or something like that. And I don't even remember the other person who was there with her. Of course, I wouldn't remember her name if she wasn't just coming out right now either. But, to me, that feels a lot more head-pattable. It's sort of like Sybil. I really like playing as Sybil because I feel like she as a character in the original Silent Hill was just very head-pattable. The kind of person that you're like, I really appreciate how hard you work. Thank you. It's a weird thought, I know. But a thought. Anyways, going back to the thing, obviously I'm saving up a lot of blood points so that as soon as the chapter releases, I can dump a bunch of points into Wesker. And once I get him to P3 and he's pretty much done being leveled up, then I'm going to focus on getting both Rebecca and Ada to level 15, and then I'm going to focus on one of them. I'm not sure yet, because as much as I appreciate Rebecca over Ada, just from Ada, maybe it's because I haven't played the games, but Ada doesn't have the same allure to me. So then it becomes the perks. Because, again, while I appreciate Rebecca a little bit more, she's not so much more appreciated that she has that higher priority, and so the question is perks. And one of the funny things about Ada would be Wiretap, which would give me another perk that does something when I'm repairing a generator over time. But, there would be no question about who would get leveled up first if behavior confirmed that Rebecca's ability that gives the thumbs up in the icon causes her to give a thumbs up in the actual game. At which point that becomes an insanely important perk to get on absolutely everybody, just because you have to be able to walk up to a hook and go, because it's fun. So along those lines, I've been enjoying my Dead by Daylight a little bit more than usual. There's been some Monster Hunter in there, but yeah. We're in those kind of times, I guess. Alright, I think that should wrap up everything I was going to talk about. Nothing else comes to mind, so y'all have a nice week.